What up, everybody? It's your boy Sack the King up in this motherfucker, man. Now, as you can see from the title, Game Time. Separate to elevate. You know what I mean? This is a new segment on my channel that I'm going to start. I give y'all a lot of categories because this is a channel of variety. So if you've been following my channel, you know you've seen a lot of different things. It's not just tailored to one thing. If you're a new viewer of my channel, go back and watch some of my STK Eats videos where I kind of review places that I eat sometimes. Single nigga meals. Sometimes I cook shit at home. STK travels. My videos of me going different places in the world. My life stories, my life year entertainment. I'm gonna put all of these in a playlist as well, so you guys can just pick and choose what you come to my channel for. Observational opinions on current events, as well as a lot of shorts that I got. I got some of the best shorts on YouTube, man. Go through and click and watch and share if you like them. As well as I'm starting to do book reviews and another segment called Game Time, where I share with y'all some of the life lessons that I've learned, some of the life things that I've been through that just gave me some game and elevated me more, to be the person that I am today, which is better than I was before. And hopefully, I'm a person that likes to continue to learn. So, by this time next year, my game is going to be elevated more. But I wanted to start the first segment off with separation requires, elevation requires separation. Sometimes you have to separate to elevate. And, I've learned this a few different times in my life, starting with, if you've been watching my channel, about how I joined the Army at 17, you know what I mean? And you can go back and watch that video and see what made me do that. But that was like the first lesson of having to separate to elevate in life. I knew at that time that staying in Ruston, Louisiana, a racist ass place that's just miserable and a crab in a barrel place, and that's no disrespect to anybody who lives there, because I still have some lifelong friends from there and family members from there who currently still live there. It's just I didn't like the place itself, you know what I mean? So I had to do everything I had to do to get the fuck out of there. And as you can see, if you look back on some of my videos, I did that. And that was like one of the first things that I had to know without even knowing at the time, that I had to separate to elevate, because I felt like, I seen it at a young age, and when I left there at 17, that some of these people, are going to be here 10 years from the time that I left, still doing the same things and really not going to get any further in life. Now, that's no disrespect to anybody. We all got different goals and dreams, and that's part of the message here in this video as well. Sometimes elevation requires separation. And, I've had to learn that over the years a few times, but that was just the first case, you know what I mean? Everybody can't go, you know what I mean? Like, we all have goals, we all have dreams, hopefully, and, and when you reach a level of first having goals and dreams, you elevate to having a vision. Now, the difference between a vision and a dream is a plan. You know what I mean? Anybody can sit around and just dream all day, all they want. But without having a plan set for that, it's just going to stay a dream, like everybody else has dreams. And most people don't act on their dreams. It's just easier to talk about. But when you have a plan in place, you start to have a vision, and you start to just be in tunnel vision, you know what I mean? To the where you might be so focused on your goals that whether you want it to be this way or not with family and friends, if they don't have the same goals and vision of you as you're going to separate some, and hopefully you elevate, you know what I mean? And maybe you might not be the person that elevates, but somebody else might have had to separate from you or others to elevate themselves. It happens all the time in life. It's a part of life, whether we like it or not. Sometimes the same people that you start with aren't going to be the same people that you end with. And I had to learn that, I'm here in Japan by myself. And, you know, I had to realize too, even prior to coming to Japan, when I moved to Hawaii, that, you know, everybody can't go. I had to learn a hard lesson that my goals and my dreams might not be the same for everybody else. Even if I try to bring them with me, it's still, you know, you could lead somebody to water, but you can't make them drink. You know what I mean? And one of the things that made me move to Hawaii was I just realized that, you know, even though I had a great career and a great job, you know what I mean, there wasn't much room for elevation in my department. And in order for me to elevate, I was going to have to separate. And I'll give you a little bit more into that. I worked for the VA, right, in Sacramento, California. And the difference between working for the VA and working for like an active duty military base is that with an active duty military base, people are coming and going. So there's always more opportunity for growth. And at the VA, it's like you can get stuck and stagnant in a position or a grade. And most of the time, see, the VA is full of civilians. It's no active duty, so there's not a lot of opportunity of coming and going, which, you know, that can be somewhat of a detriment as well. But in this case, you know, I just sat around one day and I just realized that in order for me to make it to the next level, I'm going to have to wait for somebody to retire, wait for somebody to die, or wait for somebody to get fired, which is very rare that happens. And a lot of people at the VA hold on to their jobs because it's civilian. You know, when you're working with an active base, there's people coming and going all the time, so there's more room for growth. So in order for me to elevate, I had to separate, and it was hard to leave my family and friends, man. It was hard. You know, it was hard to leave, you know, my pride and my ego of knowing everybody and you know, being somewhat of a popular person in my city and having the hookup on so many different things to move to somewhere that I never even visited. But, you know, it takes a lot of courage, what I've realized too, to get up and do that. And I've been doing that since I was 17, as I told you guys. So it was nothing for me more than it would be for the average person to do that. You know what I'm saying? And I understand why when I used to try to tell people, hey man, y'all should move to Hawaii if you're going to pay the same amount of rent and cost of living in California, I understand why nobody took me up on that and wanted to stay there, because their vision and goals in life were different than mine. You know what I mean? Not to say that mine's are any better or any worse. It's just, it was working for me and it was time for me to leave. I felt like I'd done everything in Sacramento I could do. I knew everybody in Sacramento I needed to know. You know what I mean? So I had to grow, and growth required me to separate in order to elevate. You know what I mean? And, you know, let me tell y'all another story, right? Okay, so this one is a little bit more personal story. When I chose to leave Sacramento and move to Hawaii, it was me, my oldest son, my girl at the time, which is my youngest son's mom, and my youngest son. I was going to move the whole family over there, you know what I mean? So, you know, I bought all the plane tickets. You know, I put in the notice for my job to move. I sold all my belongings that I wasn't going to take with me, you know, because when I moved to Hawaii, I started from scratch. And I don't have no problem starting from scratch. I moved to Japan starting from scratch. And I'm a firm believer of, you know, I can get it all back. It's nothing. I believe in myself. I'm a very confident person. Like, if you do something once, that's luck. If you do it twice, that's skill. If you do it more than 3 times, you've mastered that shit. And at this point, I've mastered starting over, and you know, and all my situations have always ended up being better. So I bet on myself. It's okay to bet on yourself. You know what I mean? But, you know, longer story short, you know, we're ready to go. You know, we're ready to go. And it's damn near 5 years to the date that this happened. And one day I came home, like maybe 2 days before we were off in the move, and the rest of the little bit of stuff that we had was gone. You know, my son's mom had taken the rest of her stuff and the rest of my son's stuff and left. You know what I mean? And that should have been the first sign, you know what I mean, of everybody can't go, and I had to separate to elevate, even if it meant sacrificing sometimes, because it's gonna be some sacrifice when you separate to elevate, you know what I mean? But at the time it wasn't so clear to me. I was mad because I'm like, why would you do this? You know, either way, the show must go on. Me and my son, my oldest son, ended up moving to Hawaii. I looked at him, and I had to remember, like, I still got somebody looking at me, you know, my son, you know, my oldest son, and he's gonna see how I react in these situations. If I just fold up and crumble and let this get the best of me, if he's in that situation, he might do the same thing. So I had to, you know, man up, chin up, and continue with my vision. You know what I mean? Because I had a vision of what I wanted to do. And so we ended up moving, and she stayed in Sacramento, you know. And a lot of that has to do with her wanting to be around her mother and her sisters. And, you know, even when we used to break up, she would just go and be with her mom and around there. And, you know, and it was just like, you know what? I was just mad because I felt like she didn't give it a chance. You know what I mean? Like, you know, but fear of the unknown is a big thing with people. Sometimes people fear what they don't understand or know, and it's just human nature sometimes. So, you know, we moved there, and longer story short, a couple months later, she ended up, you know, getting her mind right and moving to Hawaii with us, with my youngest son. Now, that worked out for a few years, you know what I mean? I ended up getting her a great job at the hospital where I was working at. She didn't really have to do shit. It's probably the highest paying job that she's ever had. She didn't have to do anything. Trust me, like it was a cush ass job. You know what I mean? And my son was very happy, you know, and I thought everything was going good. Now, one day, me and her got into an argument, and she decided to do the same thing. One day I came home from work, and all of her stuff was gone, and all of my youngest son's stuff was gone, and she ended up going back to California. Now, again, I still got another son looking at me like, okay, what is my dad gonna do in this situation? You know what I mean? And one thing I didn't do was lose my cool. You know, if it hasn't been one thing that I've learned from my past marriage with my ex-wife to my youngest son's mom is, you know, not to lose my cool and get out of my character and make the situation worse for myself and for the child. So, you know, I was mad. You know, of course you're going to be mad, but I never lashed out at her. I never sent her threatening texts. I let her go. Because I had to realize, like, this was my dream. This was my goal. This was my vision. And I was just trying to include her into the shit because this is my girl and this is my youngest son and this is who I'm really doing it for, as well as my oldest son, you know, even though he's a grown man, you know. But it was really then that it really made sense about having to separate to elevate, and that everybody can't go, and that everybody's vision isn't going to be your vision. You know what I mean? And, you know, fast forward years later, it's been like 3 years since that happened. Me and her are on better terms than we probably were the whole 13 years we were together. And if it wasn't for that situation, I probably wouldn't be in Japan, because after that, you know, it just put my mind somewhere else where I felt like, okay, I'm at this level, and I could have stayed in Hawaii and been comfortable, you know what I mean? But I'm the type of person that wants more out of life. I want to make sure that my youngest son don't ever have to worry about anything in life. So when the opportunity presented itself for me to come to Japan, it was an elevation for me. It was a step up to me. You know what I mean? And it's worked out. You know what I mean? And even though I'm here by myself, it's just another layer and just another lesson that everybody can't go. You know, it's like you're born alone, you're going to die alone, and at some point in life, whether you like it or not, you're going to have to walk your own path alone, especially when you're focused on goals and you're trying to complete a mission with your vision. You know what I mean? And, you know, my son is not wanting for anything, and yes, the sacrifice hurts to be away from not only my oldest son but my youngest son. But, you know, I got bigger. I'm not thinking 5 months ahead. I'm thinking 5 years ahead. You know what I mean? And I just got bigger goals and bigger dreams than maybe some of the people around me had. And it's okay, you know? And everybody's not going to have the same dreams as you. So I got friends and family members who are doing their own thing. And, you know, at first we started off doing the same thing, but you know, times change, things change, people change. People have families, people have different circumstances that might require y'all to separate to elevate. But if the goal, I believe, if the goal is the same to all get rich and be successful, then we're going to come back together like some water. You know what I mean? And, you know, I'm still in contact with all my family and friends. I go see them at least 3 or 4 times a year since I've been here in Japan. I'm taking another trip soon in November. But the moral of the story is sometimes you have to separate to elevate. And that's some game that I've had since I was a young person. But it really took that situation, you know, for me to really, really realize my purpose is probably a little bit bigger than the next person's purpose. Even if we live in the same house and in the same dwelling, we still might not be on the same page. And it's okay. It is okay. I'm letting anybody who's still listening to this know it's okay. Separation is going to require some sacrifice, but no, like you're going to go through some hard times and some pain maybe, you know what I mean? And yeah, it was painful for my son to have to go back to California when I did everything in life to make him have a better life in Hawaii. It's paradise. But, you know, like I said, if she hadn't have done that, I probably wouldn't be thinking to the next level to move to Japan. You know what I mean? And everything happens for a reason, man. And what's for you in life will be for you. And what's not won't be, you know? I believe in that. But at the end of the day, if you want to elevate, sometimes you're going to have to separate. And that's the message here in this first segment of Game Time. So stay on the lookout for more Game Time. I got a lot more topics that I'm going to cover. That's aside from my life stories. Even though I might intertwine some of my life stories in this, is still a message. And the message is elevation requires separation sometimes, man. Sometimes you have to separate to elevate. And I hope that you got something out of this video. And if you like this video, share it, comment, you know, and most importantly, hit that subscribe button below so you can be the first to know and help the channel grow. And, you know, sometimes you got to separate to elevate. King.